It has Jesus in a setting, right? He's sitting down and he's talking to who? He's sitting down and he's eating with who? Tax collectors and sinners were all drawing near to hear him. And the Pharisees, who I always see, envisage, dressed in black with their arms folded, standing right in the back, murmured, saying, "This man receives sinners and eats with them." Of course, we know table fellowship is construed as what? It's construed as more than sitting down and having a hamburger together. It's a formal way of breaking bread, of telling the person who's right across from you, "I accept you." We share something. It's especially in the Gospel of Luke, the whole idea of fellowship and table fellowship and eating. It's a big theme with him. And we've talked about that, haven't we? We figured out that the reason it is a big theme is because it foreshadows what? The heavenly supper. It foreshadows the heavenly banquet. It foreshadows, in other words, it foreshadows the kind of fellowship, or one of the kinds of fellowship that we will enjoy with God in heaven forever. And so when you see Jesus at table with so many different kinds of people, that's what's being foreshadowed. And I think that's one of the reasons why Luke wants to draw it out. And the Pharisees, as usual, are grumbling. Now, this is setting the stage. Jesus preaching to the sinners, the Gentiles, the tax collectors, the untouchables, all the unacceptable people are coming in. They're listening, and listening in a way is equated with hearing, and hearing is equated with accepting and with conversion. Right? So you have all these people coming in, all these people being saved, and the Pharisees are complaining because these people don't really match up with the standards that they have been living up to all this time, which are what? The standards of the Mosaic purity laws, of the ritual laws. So you have this disconnect between the people who are the establishment, the people who are really consider themselves the holy ones, the people who really think that they're the only ones who are really following after God, and this upstart rabbi from Galilee who is bringing everybody into this new kingdom he is speaking of. And they're not at all quite sure this guy from Galilee might not even be a blasphemer. Remember, things are winding down. We're on our journey to Jerusalem. The last journey. So think about the context. The sinners coming in, the Pharisees complaining. And so Jesus he reverts back into, y'all are picking on me. This is a hostile context. I'm going to tell a parable. Remember, he falls back on parables when there are truths that need to be conveyed, but there's a hostile audience. All right? And so he tells 3 stories. And it all has to do, and it escalates, from the lost sheep to the lost coin to the lost son. And they all end up with the person, with the good shepherd finding his sheep, the woman finding the coin, and the father receiving the son, just breaking out into joy, almost like an exaggerated joy. But all 3 are supposed to be a type of God, a type of the Father, the type of the kind of rejoicing that occurs when people repent, when people convert, when people turn towards God. The joy of the Father. Why? Because he created us for himself. And each and every one of us that goes astray, to use the sheep metaphor, each one of us who is lost is a hole in his heart. Because to God we are all equally, fundamentally important. We are all created in his image. Nobody is dispensable. Nobody is, we can do without that person. Nobody is disposable. Unfortunately, this culture tells us quite a few classes of people are disposable. But really, here's the Father saying, no, you're all equally precious to me. And I rejoice equally over the finding of even one of you all, of one of you turning back to me, wanting to be in fellowship with me, wanting to live the life that I can give them, accepting my spirit, accepting my grace.